The Tinubu administration is not just bad government, it is an existential threat to Nigeria as an emerging democracy and to our lives as human beings. This is not a time for mischief making, to come together and begin to plot on whether I can or this can or that can. How can Nigeria survive? Uncle Victor, today in Nigeria, terrorists kidnap people, flog them on camera, post online and ask government to pay ransom, and government is paying ransom. Few days ago, you heard the story, the video, a GUO bus from Ore, between Ore and Lagos, a full bus kidnapped, the driver shot dead. Government is not able to find where they are. Nigerian government today is reintegrating so-called repentant terrorists into the system, spending taxpayer money on terrorists in the name of repentance and rehabilitation. That is what we call a government. So when I see politicians talking and making statements like this, I feel frightened that we are not putting in context the value and the dignity of human life. We are talking about politics. You must not be a leader, you must not be president. Nigeria needs to be saved. People in Plateau, Benue are waiting for somebody who will come and protect their lives. They are no longer even demanding for light. NEPA, we have not even talked about that one. People just want to be able to sleep and wake up in their country. What a calamity. Please, opposition must do the right thing. They must prove that they can be better.
Welcome to Naija Unfiltered, a SYMFONI podcast. And our guest on today's edition of the program is Peter Akah, a youth advocate and a human rights activist. Peter, good to have you.
Thank you very much. It's
always
a pleasure being
pleasure
with you once again.
Sure, always a pleasure having you around. All right, let's look at what happened at the opposition gathering in Ibadan, the Ibadan Summit of Opposition Parties. What are your thoughts on that particular summit?
Incredible outing. Very healthy for our democracy. It is important that as a country, we know that we cannot give in to one man's personal ambition to hijack the entire nation. If nobody stands up to do the right thing, what Tinubu is trying to achieve is not just a one-party state. One-party state is a means to an end. The end is a one-man rule, where you drag all the resources to yourself. And then because you know that a lot of the politicians around, they stand for nothing, so they will fall for anything, and criminal-minded, so they come to your table and then they can feed from the crumbs. But at the end of it, you want to enthrone a system where everything revolves around you. You can see from his templates in Lagos. So seeing that opposition figures are coming together to ensure, and as they have said, adopt that they will come out with one candidate and that they will listen, because when you listen to the PDP chairman, Turaki, he said we will listen to the people and do what they want, meaning PDP has also learned from some of its mistakes to bring forth a candidate that has the capacity, the character, and that will build the enthusiasm amongst people to ensure that Tinubu is not just defeated, but taught a strong lesson that you cannot turn a country into an experiment for failed leadership.
At that particular summit, the governor for your state, Makinde, made reference to what happened in 1965. He drew the attention of APC followers and their members to what happened in 1965, Operation Wettier. And APC have been calling him out. They've, as a matter of fact, called on the security agencies to also go after him and probably remove him from office. What are your thoughts on that?
What level of hypocrisy? What level of psychophancy taken so far? It is the words of for a governor for your state that the APC. That is why today in Nigeria, the APC is more concerned about opposition primaries than APC primaries. So all they are talking about is, for them, what is Operation Where? They talked about the elections of 1965 that were so badly rigged and all of that. The question is, why are you crying or why are you running as APC? Are you planning to rig elections? If you are planning to rig election, Nigerians are ready to ensure that our votes will count, because Tinubu must go, whether free and fair election or if you want to do otherwise, Tinubu must leave. We are tired of that. So you are not going to arrest people who killed the brigadier general, General Buraimo that has been killed and was buried, you have not been able to arrest the terrorists. The ones that have taken people in Kwara who are in captivity till today, you have not declared law enforcement to go after them. The people who slaughtered persons in Plateau, where Tinubu went there and could not visit the people, but City Boy decided to stay in the airport, you have not gone after them. The person you are talking about is a governor who is telling you that you need to do the right thing. I think it is very shameful. APC knows that they have bad market. They are done for because they are, held bound with Tinubu, and it is almost impossible to sell that kind of commodity. So everything they are trying to stoke is disunity amongst the opposition, because they know that opposition unity is the beginning of the end of the Tinubu regime.
The Ibadan Declaration says the opposition will field a single candidate.
Yes.
And of course, a lot of people have lauded that from the opposition camp, and quite a number of Nigerians seem to be excited about that particular decision. We know that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Peter Akah, Kwakwanso, Amaechi are all gunning to be presidential candidates. So, if you have an idea, can we know the selection process?
Of course, the opposition has an opportunity to not just say you want to take out an incumbent, but to prove that you can be different. Because the challenge with Nigeria is not just that we want to change government, is that we want to change the direction with which this country is headed. Remember that the current APC that we have today that is destroying the country came out as a result of as a coalition in 2014. And now we have this again. Unfortunately, we do not have a Jonathan who will say my ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian, and I will play by the rules, and if I lose, I will leave. Today we have a bunch of desperados who will do anything to cling to power at any cost. In fact, the current head of the president who we have said power is not served a la carte, that you have to snatch it, grab it, and run with it. So if he could snatch it and grab it in the first term, imagine what he would want to do with a second term. So it is up to the opposition to put their acts together to ensure that the time frame, the so-called electoral reform document that was signed is an armed robbers manual. You can see the expose from Dr. Mike Igini and all what we have been screaming. It is the document of criminality that should just enable electoral rigging. So there is a lot that is going on. ADC is in court. The election time frame, the primaries need to happen by May and all of that. So the opposition is in a tight corner, not almost. It is racing against time. So it is easier for when opposition come together and insist that we should make things easier for ourselves by making the process transparent and accountable, where you know that whoever emerges as candidate is not just a process of a political party machinery or political gladiators, but a candidate that the Nigerian people will own and come out to say, this is a leader we want, and this election we are sticking everything to ensure our votes must count. Anything other than that will be the undoing of the opposition in itself.
The FCT minister controls the FCT with enormous political machinery. His faction of the PDP called the Ibadan Summit the gathering of impostors. And if PDP does not unify, and if the Wike faction fields a separate candidate, will the single presidential candidate strategy survive?
What party is Wike?
PDP.
And whose interest is he protecting in the PDP? Do you remember the statement, the interview of the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, where he told you that himself and Wike went to meet with the president, and Wike was telling the president that I will hold the PDP for you? Does that not worry you, sir? Is it not frightening that somehow a governor who was in PDP turned to work for an APC candidate, and you saw the kind of results that you saw in Obiakpo and in Rivers State, where a BBC documentary has confirmed that Peter Obi won the Rivers State election, and that person is seated in the federal cabinet of the APC government and somehow is the national leader of the PDP, and that PDP is supposed to also endorse and work for. And if you watch during the campaign of the FCT election, of course, the minister was campaigning for the APC candidate. In fact, he told them to vote and go home and leave the rest for me. So is that the person we are discussing or taking seriously? What a country we have built, where we have been able to empower rascality and rogue attitude in public office. That is why people can come out and make reckless statements, because they believe that they are gods on their own. The institutions have been subverted to the will of strong men. It is a tragedy that we must change. If not, Wike cannot gather journalists and say whatever he wants to say. He comes out to, the judiciary has become a pet project of the FCT minister. You build houses, you buy car, you pamper them. Your spouses can move from the high court to the appellate court, and that is why you can get whatever court orders that you want. So today we do not almost have a judiciary, we have the legal department of the ruling party. It is a tragedy. So whenever I see characters like that talk, it is up to Nigerians to wake up and say that, look, our lives matter, and until our votes begin to count, our lives will not count. If the votes of the people of Rivers State counted for them to choose a governor, a former minister or a former governor cannot come and tell them that I made a governor for you. So the more than 10 million people of Rivers State do not know how to pick a governor. So that few months into office, you destabilize an entire state, the House of Assembly. The governor of Rivers State has not been able to appoint commissioners. Uncle Victor, what is the fight between Wike and Fubara? Has anybody explained it to us? So that is the person who is talking about opposition. I think Nigerians must understand that it is up to us to end this APC reign of terror. If you continue to be complicit, if you continue to keep quiet, we are only enabling and emboldening characters like that. I think we should just talk about how this country must move forward.
We're talking about how this country must move forward. The governor for your state, Makinde, gave a very powerful speech at the Ibadan summit. And he's the only governor with a measure of credibility to bridge the interest in PDP, in APC, and other splinter political parties. Do you think he is, or maybe positioning himself to be beneficiary of the joint presidential ticket?
I think it is up to him. Politicians can be up to many things. Incidentally, I have lived in Ibadan. And Seyi Makinde, to the best of my knowledge, amongst his peers as governor, is far above average. Very, very committed to his people. His policies are people-centered. In fact, he inherited a lot of disaster from the late former governor who was in APC, tried to harmonize the entire civil service. But of course, he has his own political, issues. He was aligned with the G5 governors who went around dancing with Ashoebi, with Wike, and at the end, you are now disgruntled, so you are neither here nor there. It is up to all of you to sit down and introspect and ask yourself, what do you want for this country? Is it about you? He had contested to be House of Representatives, but he had contested to be governor before, so he knows what it means for you to be resisted. If God gives you an opportunity to become a leader, it is an opportunity for you to stand with the values and principles that you know that are true. Nigeria as it is today does not need a washing and setting. Nigeria is in dire strait. We are in trouble in this country. The Tinubu administration is not just bad government. It is an existential threat to Nigeria as an emerging democracy and to our lives as human beings. This is not a time for mischief making, to come together and begin to plot on whether I can or this can or that can. How can Nigeria survive? Uncle Victor, today in Nigeria, terrorists kidnap people, flog them on camera, post online, and ask government to pay ransom, and government is paying ransom. Few days ago, you heard the story, the video, a GUO bus from Ore, between Ore and Lagos, a full bus kidnapped, the driver shot dead. Government is not able to find where they are. Nigerian government today is reintegrating so-called repentant terrorists into the system, spending taxpayer money on terrorists in the name of repentance and rehabilitation. That is what we call a government. So when I see politicians talking and making statements like this, I feel frightened that we are not putting in context the value and the dignity of human life. We are talking about politics. You must not be a leader. You must not be president. Nigeria needs to be saved. People in Plateau, Benue are waiting for somebody who will come and protect their lives. They are no longer even demanding for light. NEPA, we have not even talked about that one. People just want to be able to sleep and wake up in their country. What a calamity. Please, opposition must do the right thing. They must prove that they can be better.
There have been calls for the INEC chairman to resign, given some of the issues that have trailed his appointments and allegations of being biased, being sentimentally attached to the APC and the president. What is your take on his call to resign?
Should anybody be advising Amukpeton to vacate that office? I think that if the INEC chairman has any shred of shame or integrity or character left in him, he should do the honorable thing and excuse himself before Nigerians even put the pressure to do so. You cannot be obviously aligned to a process or a party and then come out to claim to be a neutral arbiter. I said it during the electoral reform town hall we had somewhere in Abuja Continental, where my questions, I was not even allowed to ask questions, and I made a video in that hall. I came out and I publicly said, the body language of this Joash Amukpeton is headed to be 101 times worse than Mahmood Yakubu. If Mahmood gave you glitches, Amukpeton will give you calisthenics in glitches. If you heard throughout that electoral reform conference, the only two people who agreed with themselves on the issues of elections were somehow INEC and the APC. Uncle Victor, including independent auditors, Nigerian Society of Engineers, experts whom have monitored elections, were looking at how the Electoral Act should be amended to safeguard the electoral process. The only two people who said that this was okay was Amukpeton and the INEC chairman. Somehow. So when the INEC chairman makes a statement, this person who will respond is the APC chairman. So I have raised the alarm for Amukpeton to get out of INEC even before this issue of the Twitter case. So this only just comes to confirm the fact that you probably took an APC world chairman from Kaba or Ayetoro Bede Kogi to come and make INEC chairman. So they are doing double factor authentication. The current APC national chairman is a former INEC commissioner. The current INEC chairman is an APC stalwart. So there is INEC in APC and there is APC in INEC. You know that in Yoruba say Ori Buruku Lenshe. Uncle Victor. You know that Ori Buruku. If we don't end this Ori Buruku and our Ori as Nigerians later go and Buru in 2027, we will have ourselves to blame. Amukpeton has to excuse himself, and Nigerians must increase the pressure because we cannot have APC conduct election for APC. You want to be a referee in a match where you are wearing jersey for one part of the football team. What a shame. Who are you deceiving?
But you know, Nigerians is not in our character to resign. And do you think that APC strongly is defending him? And then the opposition seem not to be putting the heat on him.
Unfortunately.
So how do you expect him to resign?
That is the problem with this opposition. In Nigeria today, we have an opposition who have been too used to being ruling party. Imagine Eli Mohammed opposition in 2014 having this shred of evidence against the INEC chairman. Today in Nigeria, APC issues statements on behalf of INEC. INEC will issue statement, APC. The only people who are defending INEC is APC. The thing no shock you, sir. But he will not resign, and that is why Nigerians must put the pressure. But there is another caveat to it. The current constitution empowers the president to appoint the INEC chairman. So even if Amukpeton leaves, Tinubu will appoint his replacement. Why? Because we did not also put pressure to get the constitutional amendment or review when the process was on. Even the opposition, including electoral reforms, they were not so much invested in the process. We must make elections and the issues of the electoral process become so frightening and dangerous that any person who assumes that position must understand that if you decide to take the path of illegality and go against the constitution and the people, there will be a price to pay. Everybody must know that when you come to do elections, you are taking charge of the country's recruitment process, and you must be loyal to the constitution and not criminals in power who are desperate to use you. The people who brought you Amukpeton had a predetermined agenda to bring you, but Nigerians must superimpose because we are more. So even if Tinubu he should appoint his son Sheyi as INEC chairman, he can even appoint his own wife or whatever to head the process. That institution must be overwhelmed by Nigerians to ensure that it produces for you. Remember that the 2023 act that gave us glitches and gave us Tinubu is the same act that gave Kano people, NNPP, their governor. They insisted that the right thing be done. The weapon that wants to be used to destroy you can be used against your enemies to protect yourself.
Since we are talking about the judiciary, let's look at the forum of former National Assembly members coming together to go to court, arguing that they want the deregistration of ADC, Action Alliance, and two other political parties. How do you see issues like this?
Uncle Victor, are we a normal people? Nigerians, are we normal? Are we okay? A group of former lawmakers who have served the country in parliament, in the parliament of the hallmark of a democracy is parliament. That is the institution that is absent in a military dictatorship. So you have served there. You understand what it means on the principles of checks and balances. You understand what a viable opposition is to the life of a democracy. And then you wake up and say that what you want is a deregistration of party. On what basis? What could be the ground for that? And how do you wake up and come up with that kind of statement if you are not being funded by persons who are? But of course, how can you complain, or how are you going to fault them? We had the chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, who also has been a speaker of the House of Representatives in this country, a ranking member of the National Assembly, on national TV, telling a suspended member of a party in ADC, he said, don't leave, stay there, fight them, scatter the place. We support you. That your factional person, what is his name, nephew, bring him to us. We will support him. The chief of staff of the president of a country is making that statement. What else are you saying, Ms. Uncle Victor? Nigeria, it is like lunatics have taken over the asylum. What we call government in Nigeria today is organized criminality. There is no level of recklessness and rascality you will not see. So do not be even surprised when you will see INEC staff also protesting. Amukpeton can even become can even publicly open a grassroots support of City Boys. Maybe there is an INEC unit of City Boys movement. You don't even know. Nigeria na anyhow. Anybody, you can see the Chief Justice of Nigeria tomorrow wake up and attend APC primaries and say that we are also part of the mandate. After all, they sang on their mandate, they shall collapse during their judicial function. We must end this structure of criminality. It is not working.
Let's revert back to the Ibadan summit. Of course, the president's camp, they monitored the Ibadan summit. They saw almost all the names that matter in the opposition party at that summit. Former Vice President Atiku, Peter Akah, Rabi Okwakwanso, Rotimi Amaechi, Turaki. Yeah. That's a factional PDP leader. How afraid do you think the villa is right now in the light of that gathering, and what are your reasons?
APC, Nigeria is in crisis, and APC is in pandemonium. APC is in pandemonium because they are stuck with a calamity. They are stuck with a bad market. Tinubu is such a bad commodity that in Nigeria they will say they no fit put am for show glass. There is nowhere you can market it. So now the only strategy of the APC is to ensure that we bring destabilization to the opposition so that they do not come together. So you are going to see the APC monitoring the ADC convention and primaries because they know that for us, we are done for. We have one candidate. This person, free and fair, he will lose. Not free and fair, he will still lose once opposition is united. So that is why you are going to see, I saw a clip of the APC publicity secretary, an interview of him analyzing the Ibadan summit, and at a point I was confused whether he was the ADC publicity secretary. He seemed to know more about that summit than even the ADC people. What exactly are you afraid of, Uncle Victor? A party that has more than 30 governors. You have more than 80. The National Assembly is a Tinubu daycare. It is a crèche for Tinubu's children. If Tinubu says that Fabio should jump, the question will be how high? There is no limit to what they will do as rubber stamp. Any loan that you want to collect from OPE to clear fair money, borrow from Kuda to clear Pampe, you will get it under 30 minutes. There is nothing that will not pass under this rubber stamp assembly. You have the judiciary on the mandate. You have an APC chieftain in INEC. Tinubu, what is your fear? Why are you running? You have done so much. You remove subsidy. You have increased money and revenue to governors. You have done everything. You have city boys. You have integrity group. You have township girls. You have Tinubu, can you just leave opposition to do their thing? In fact, now, if you see Tinubu and the APC camp talking about Obi, you will think Obi is a serving president in another part of Nigeria. Everything and stone is thrown at him. The things that he has been enduring, that is to show you that this government is in panic. Opposition must also read the room. Understand that you should not move against the tide. Nigerians are tired of this dysfunctionality. Nigerians want a better system and a better country. But we will not replace criminal with criminality. We want leadership. The opposition, the question before them, it is not about Tinubu now. It is even more of the job of opposition. Will you be different? Do you want to offer Nigerians something different from what we have today? Or you are just disgruntled because you are not in power? Once opposition puts themselves together with the support of the Nigerian people who are the people's opposition, before 12 o'clock on election day, Tinubu is gone. In fact, before election day, there is a way you will see people registering and mobilizing to vote. The wife of the president will be moving personal effects before 29 because they know that they cannot be in the villa beyond May 29. Forget about the solar farm they put for themselves there.
All right, but there are hailers. You know, in Nigeria, there are two camps. They say there are two camps: the hailers and the wailers.
The wailers.
The hailers are saying that the opposition they are disgruntled people who have lost the election, so that is why they are making so much noise. And the president himself said, if you are not seeing all that I have done, then you need some glasses to help yourself. What do you make of that statement?
You can imagine such a statement from a commander-in-chief. Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu will have to decide whether he wants to be the president of Nigeria or he wants to be the chairman of NURTW. If he wants to be the president of the country, we are a country governed with the constitution, and there is a clause that makes it your responsibility to protect life and property. If he wants to be NURTW chairman, he can go and contest with his boy Oluomo so that they can have the factional chairmanship. If you want to implement motopark politics and recklessness, Nigerians must not allow this level of recklessness and rascality to be brought into governance. Everybody must resist it. What exactly is the courage? On what performance is Tinubu requesting for a second term? On what record? What effrontery? Insecurity in Nigeria today. Nigeria is the 5th most terrorized nation in the world. Nigeria is the world's headquarters for maternal mortality. We have more than 130 persons living in extreme and multi-dimensional poverty. Today, Nigeria has become so corrupt that we can afford to hand over contracts of a coastal highway of over 15 trillion to a friend of the president who, by the way, is a convicted money launderer in the USA. In fact, the president took the second highest national honors in Nigeria quietly to France to award to Gilbert Shogore, GCON, a title reserved for our vice president, the Senate president, and the speaker, to give to in a private ceremony without even the National Assembly or the knowledge of the Nigerian state. That is where Nigeria is today. Under Tinubu, we do not know the level and the extent to which there is criminality in the country's budget. In 2025, according to the Minister for Health, over 200 billion budgeted for capital expenditure for the Ministry of Health. Less than 40 million was released for capital expenditure. Meaning in Nigeria today, we have more renewed hopelessness campaign buses than we have Federal Ministry of Health emergency ambulances. A senator came out and said in 2023, 24, and 25, the budgets are not implemented, that the money is stolen. And Tinubu has the nerves to be going around the country talking about campaign. That is, we have a president. Tinubu has too many titles to be this irresponsible and to be this level of failure. You alone, you are Jagaban. You are supposed to be master strategist. You are supposed to be Ashiwaju. You are supposed to be, on the mandate. You are supposed to be the head of city boys. Imagine a Jagaban who cannot provide security. Imagine if Nigerian terrorists and, criminals knew that there was a Jagaban in office. Under Jagaban, terrorists are holding stakeholder meeting in Katsina, and the terms and conditions are put in place by the terrorists. Under Jagaban, we have Nigerian government paying ransom, and the Kebbi state government is telling you that who ordered troops out of the school in Maga before they were kidnapped. Jagaban cannot tell you. Under Jagaban went to Plateau State where people were killed. Who is supposed to be head of city boy? City boy reached city, could not enter the city, stayed at the airport. They bring somebody whose only son had died to come and meet with Jagaban in the airport. Uncle Victor, this one na Jaga. The ban don't cut.
On April 16 this year, the president delivered what has become the most quoted political attack of the season, calling the ADC National Convention the rascality of street convention, and vowing he would not submit to noise making. And his special advisor, Sunday Dare, also doubled down, calling ADC hurriedly stitched together contraption, and said Nigeria's latest bunch of conspiracy theorists. Do you agree? What is your reaction to these comments, both from the president and his special advisor?
Why are you bothered about something that is hurriedly stitched together? APC, opposition is hurriedly stitched. Is a coming together of impostor. It's a this. It is a failed movement. It is a this. Shall leave them now. Allow them to do their thing. You campaign on your own performance. For the president to come out and say that nobody will scare you, it shows that you are scared. For the president to come out and be making a statement about a convention. And they do not learn. They don't learn from lessons. The more you people have fought and have tried to destroy the opposition, the more popular you have made it to be. Do you know that ADC convention could have held in Abuja and nobody in Nigeria may even have known, or people who are not really part of it will not know? But because they wrote a letter to you, you said they can't use the Eagle Square, they can't use the Veiled Room. The place where they went to, when we went into that convention room, because we took time to go there, they even took off and switched off lights from the place. They had to bring alternative generator. It was hot like microwave. But Nigerians, people who were there, have not seen a thing like that. People were in a convention that they did not even give you water or refreshment. Nigerians were going out to buy water for themselves to give other people. You see Bayelsa people, they say we buy water, we give Enugu, we give maybe. Nigerians on their own are investing in a process that they believe that it is a rescue vehicle for them. Nigerians are owning opposition. Why will Tinubu not be scared? Can you be this kind of failure and not be scared when you see opposition coming together? What did you do for Nigerians? You remove subsidy that you cannot account for the money and where you kept it. If they ask you, you say, I gave money to governors. I gave money to governors. So whatever that the opposition, the ruling party wants to say about the ADC, it is up to them. My emphasis is on opposition. Please do the right thing. Nigerians are waiting for you. It is not about these people. These ones are on their way out.
You have video on Femi Gbajabiamila on Leke Abejide, the ADC lawmaker, that he was talking in a birthday party. As at the time, the day I saw it, had already grossed over 20,000 likes. As at that time, I know that by now it should have been more than that. Does it give credence to the fact that what Nigerians are saying, that the president and the present government is all out to destroy the opposition?
It is a confirmation of what is already in the open. It shows that Nigerians, first of all, do not feel a sense of belonging in this government. In fact, first, it shows, it is a lesson to Tinubu to know that you can snatch it, grab it, and run with it. But one thing you cannot snatch is the love of the people. You can steal, in that local parable they say, you can steal the village drum. It is where to play it. So you took power, but lost the people. That is why today, every movement of the president is choreographed. Because you know that you are disconnected from reality. Nigerians know who their leaders were. Nigerians know who they voted for in 2023. So as it is, the reactions to those videos and to statements like that, even coming from people, who am I in Nigeria? I'm just a young person, a citizen who wants a better country. But when I hear the opinions that people believe that you are speaking what we cannot say, you are saying what bothers us, what they can do is to support you and say that we are with you. Please speak up, because we may not have the courage. People are afraid. Tomorrow they carry you, next tomorrow. This government goes after critics more than they go after terrorists. Terrorists can be repented. Critics do not. They languish in prison. That is the fate of people like us who come out. But God knows that this country must work in our lifetime. So when you see Nigerians supporting such statements or supporting such actions, it's because they know that they want a president. I don't have a problem with anybody being president. I have a problem with the process with which you get into office. Whether Nigerians want to get a cripple, whoever, let it be the will of the people. The day Tinubu was announced as president, the entire nation was so gloomy, it was like a day of national mourning. The day Yakubu announced that Tinubu had given him the presidency. The next day that Nigerians will celebrate is the day they have announced that he's out of that office.
All right, let's put numbers on the table. In the last 30 days, reports show that over 120 people have been killed in the Northwest, 49 villagers massacred in Kebbi, Kwara, Benue, Plateau. The number is endless. And of course, Nigeria is now the fourth most terrorized. Or when you talk about deaths arising from terrorism, Nigeria is number 4 in the global index. Has this government abandoned its people or what?
Did the government even have the people? Shebi, you can abandon people who were with you. But by implication, since you snatched power, grab it and got with it, the implication is that you swore to a constitution and you are supposed to abide by it. That the protection of the life and properties of the people, security and welfare, will be your primary responsibility. What we have today in Nigeria is a sacrilege. The Tinubu handling of security in this country is a scandal. That is why today you will have terrorists in this country who will make phone calls, receive alert on their phones. Terrorists in the bush are treated with medical, professionals, but somehow the government does not know where they are. In Nigeria, when they kidnap 100 people, government go behind doors and pay ransom and will come and put up a statement and tell you that we discovered them as per lost but found. That is where Nigeria is. That even in Abuja, the FCT, they kidnap people in the country's capital. But guess what? In the words of Professor Wole Soyinka, the son of the president, Seyi Tinubu, was seen with a security entourage and convoy that Professor Wole Soyinka, not me, who by the way is a friend to the president, had to call people around the presidency and say, what is going on? What kind of security is this? Do you know what Wole Soyinka said? Prof said, when Tinubu sent Nigerian military to go and restore democratic order in Benin Republic, it was not necessary to send Nigerian military. That the security he saw with the president's son is enough to restore and carry out that assignment in Benin Republic. That is what we are talking about. Outright criminality and rascality in Nigeria. That's why obese statements will continue to ring a bell. If you are not stealing as a president or a leader, your wife is not stealing, your children are not stealing, you have reduced corruption by 50%. When you have an entire family parasiting on the commonwealth of the people, how do you move forward? Collecting contracts. You know how much Nigeria has spent on forex travel for the wife of the president? In 2023, within the space of 3 months, we spent over 700 million. Directly taken from the State House account. We are budgeting money for SUV for office of First Lady. The president's son is there. The daughter is Iyaloja, Iyalode, Babaloja. That is Nigeria. Tinubu's presidency is like going for a black market Friday shopping. Buy one, get 3 free. Father is giving you incompetence and failure in leadership. Son is running around sharing rice with city campaign. The wife is taking forex and traveling to Angola. The daughter is installing Babaloja in Benin. That is Nigeria under Tinubu. And people are dying. People are in custody. As we are talking now, kidnappers will flog you, put it on TikTok. DSS do not know where they are. But make I talk one thing about government now. They will trace me. We must dismantle this structure.
The last time Nigerians raised alarm was when reports came out that 774 Boko Haram terrorists were de-radicalized and then reintegrated into the society. And people are asking, as a matter of fact, some persons, Maxwell Opera has gone to court, dragging the government and the Attorney General of the Federation to court over the integration of so-called repentant Boko Haram terrorists. On your own, what do you think of this de-radicalizing and reintegrating repentant Boko Haram into the society?
Uncle Victor, the only repentant terrorist is a dead terrorist. Repentance and forgiveness of a terrorist comes from their creator or whoever they worship. The job of government and the military is to fix that meeting between them and their God. The earlier they fix it, the better for innocent citizens. But you know why insecurity in Nigeria today will continue to have the K and W leg that it has? Is because until you solve and eradicate the political wing of terrorism, you will not solve the one in the bush. What energizes the one in the bush is the one inside government house. Yes. That is why that statement that tells you that once insecurity and terrorism lasts beyond 48 hours, there is a hand of government. The retired military general and former minister for defense, T.Y. Danjuma, stood on his platform in Taraba. He told you, he said the armed forces, they are not neutral. They collude. In 2018, under Buhari, police IRT went to Taraba to arrest a kidnapped kingpin. They were accosted by Nigerian military who opened fire on them, killing police and a civilian, and the kidnapper escaped. How will insecurity end? The more money you put into it, the more it increases. It is a multi-dimensional economic enterprise and investment. Who are the persons sponsoring terrorism? Who are the beneficiaries? Why is Nigerian government unwilling or reluctant to name the people who for some foreign government has given them as names of persons sponsoring and financing terrorism? Until we take it out. Today in Nigeria, according to even the revelation of somebody who was a kidnapped victim in Kwara, he said the Kwara state government paid about 350 million for the CAC, Eruku people. In one attack, kidnappers can get up to 350 million. Uncle Victor, the total feeding of a Nigerian soldier is about 3,000 naira per day. About 1,000 for breakfast, 1,000 lunch, 1,000 for dinner. For a soldier who is fighting terrorists. And the terrorists on one attack can get up to 350 million. If they divide it, maybe, let us say you even go home with 5 million or even 3 million. That is, the terrorist is more motivated than the soldier who is supposed to go and fight him. How it will end? We are deceiving ourselves. This thing is a contraption. Until you unbundle it, you cannot solve it. How can terrorists be online? How can terrorists make call and nobody knows where they are? DSS, your only intelligence is for peaceful protesters. What a shame.
Let's look at the comment by Senate President Akpabio about when terrorism will end. He said that some persons are sponsoring terrorism because of the good work the president is doing. That's why we are seeing bomb blasts and we're seeing all this increase in terrorism because of the president's good work. And he said it will end after 2027 elections. What are your thoughts on this?
Uncle Victor, may no country in the world have the misfortune of having characters like Tinubu, Akpabio, and the APC leadership mismanage their country.
Why do you say so?
Nigeria is currently led by the worst of humanity. We have built a system where the worst of us mislead and misrule the rest instead of allowing the best to lead the rest. Look at the remarks you are reading from the number 3 citizen of the country, the head of parliament. The Senate president is not just Senate president, he's the chairman of the National Assembly because he is the head of the upper chambers. Akpabio can garrulously and flippantly tell you that insecurity will end in truth after election. Say God will protect you people till then. That is the person who is parading as Senate president. But then it now begs you, what exactly was the process to which he got there? Did Akpabio contest to be senator or he contested APC primaries as a presidential candidate? How did he end up in the Senate? We give glory to God of the Nigerian judiciary. But that is the idea. Tinubu is not interested in strengthening institutions. The pattern is this. Get a stooge to head the National Assembly. Whatever that I want and my wishes and aspirations is what you will be there to pursue. That is what Akpabio is a perfect fix for. So everybody there will be struggling to who will be the sycophant in chief, who can please the president more. So that is why the Akpabio can read the statement and say, Remi Tinubu asks us to come for dinner. It is an invitation like from a mother to her children. Do you know that Akpabio is Remi Tinubu's son? And then let's go to the EFCC. We will get a sycophant who will be there. Pretend that he's fighting corruption, but no, the real idea is to fight my enemies and threaten people who I want to move to my party. We will get, an IG of police who will pretend to be a law enforcement officer, but is there to enforce laws of Tinubu. So across board, let us go to INEC. We'll get somebody who will pretend to be an INEC chairman to do electoral processes. No, he's actually an APC politician who is there to oversee a coronation of Tinubu. And across board. That is how institutions are destroyed, and then we give power to one man. Nigerians must read between the lines and see that characters like this serve nobody's interest but themselves. This nation is failing. Nigeria is in dire straits. If we do not end this, we have our lives to pay for it, because bad governance does not exist in a vacuum. We are the collateral. So shame on people like Akpabio.
You were quoted as saying that the most important person to be fired in the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's cabinet is President Ahmed Tinubu himself. Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself.
Yeah. The question should be, what has Tinubu not done for him to be fired? What is Tinubu doing in the presidential villa, Uncle Victor? It does not matter who Tinubu decides to fire or hire today. If you like, remove this one and take from the anta to the stigma, do cross-pollination. The most important person to be fired in Tinubu's government is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And since he cannot fire himself or resign, We, the 200 million Nigerians, must come and show him the way out. You have sounded too good for the horrible job you have done. In the name of God, go. What exactly is the basis for why Tinubu is in office? To protect Nigerian lives and properties. Mr. Victor, is your life safe today? Can you travel to your community without, to leave home in Nigeria today and go from point A to B is a miracle. Human beings were kidnapped along Benin or Express. Uncle Victor, I'm not telling you that it happened in my village or in one interior. Maybe it happened in Alifokpa or in Ajashepo or in Sagbama or in Kotogora. Benin or Express, a full bus. Driver killed, passengers taken. A lot of drivers even stopped using the road from Abuja through Kogi. They started going through Nasarawa. The kidnappers also moved and joined them at that point. So why is Tinubu moving around? To share rice? So you are moving around. You know how to take care and pamper yourself. You came and saw a country in crisis. You first put yourself on a level where you want to enjoy. This is the tragedy of Tinubu. You want to enjoy the luxury and affluence of office, but do not want to take charge of the responsibility. So you come, you increase, your allowances. You buy a jumbo presidential jet, a presidential yacht. What are you doing with a jet? We bought a jet, wasted money to fly failure around the world. And then you now disconnect yourself from the national grid and build a giant solar farm for yourself and your family and the people who are in the villa. And that is what you want us to reward. So we are the subsidy for the rich in Nigeria. We are paying for Tinubu's own life. Tinubu is the only government, the person who has taxed Nigeria more, removed subsidy, claimed to have generated more revenue, but somehow has borrowed more than the past 4 presidents combined. Tinubu has put Nigeria debt to over almost 200 trillion. With what to show for it? Servicing money to service refineries. According to Obasanjo, I'm sure you saw his interview, Nigeria has spent almost 16 billion servicing refineries. That is 4 billion short of what Dangote used to build his entire refinery. Do you know that in Nigeria today, Bola Tinubu stood in that APC garden where he was talking that he cannot be scared. Tinubu was trying to mock the former Vice President Atiku. He said they were in charge of privatization. They privatized Delta Steel Company. Is it working? They say no. They privatized Ajakuta Steel. Is it working? They say no. And now they are coming to say they want to do this. Do you know what exactly is going on? Tinubu said that the privatized Ajakuta Steel is not working. Uncle Victor, have you seen the budget defense of the Ministry of Solid Minerals? Do you know that under Tinubu's government with the minister Dele Alake, in this 2026 budget, there is more than 6 billion budgeted for salaries of staff of Ajakuta Steel Company? In fact, it increased from 5 billion in 2025 to 6 billion in 2026. That is, Tinubu is budgeting money for salaries in a company he knows is not working. That is the president we have as commander-in-chief. And you ask me what did Tinubu do to fire himself? It is up to Nigerians to decide what level of criminality they were ready to entertain and endure as government.
The opposition parties have demanded that the INEC chairman resigns. And if he doesn't resign before 2027 elections, what do you think should be the plan B of the opposition party?
We will resign him.
How?
That is how it will work.
How will you resign him?
He will resign. If he does not resign, we'll have to resign him to ensure that he leaves. He has to leave. If he doesn't leave, he will ensure that the will of the people must prevail. It is up to Amukpeton to choose. Do you want to stand with the part of constitutionality? Do you want to start with the part of legality? Do you want to stand with the people? Or you want to play and support the interest of criminal elements in power? If Amukpeton does not resign, Nigeria should ensure that they resign him. He must resign. It is up to the people to put pressure and ensure that he must go. It is not this protest we do, say one day you do, one day you go. By the time they see 10,000 people living with Amukpeton as the front of INEC gate, there will be no even road for him to pass into the office. He will just voluntarily leave the place. But whatever it is, I continue to insist. If Amukpeton leaves, the person who will come will still come from Tinubu. Ensure as Nigerians that you are able to put pressure. Let us calculate the entire people who are supposed to rig election. Let us calculate the entire people holding Nigeria hostage. How many persons are in the National Assembly? How many persons are in the executive arm of government? Let's give the entire political class 20 or 30,000 human beings. As against how many? INEC voter register alone for 2022 had more than 87 million people who collected PVCs. So 87 million people cannot ensure an Amukpeton resignation. Is that what is going to happen? 87 million people cannot ensure that their votes must count. How many votes took Tinubu to the villa, according to Mahmood Yakubu? The people who voted against you are more than people who voted for you. If you add the votes of Atiku, Obi, and Kwankwaso, so you are an unpopular government. You cannot superimpose on Nigerians. Nigerians must liberate themselves through a peaceful, democratic, free, and fair process without any alterations.
All right, you have been quoted to have called on Nigerians to rally behind a united opposition candidate.
Yes.
And of course, we know the former Vice President Atiku, Peter Akah, and Amaechi are all men with credible credentials and personal ambition.
Yeah.
Give us a picture of your dream tickets.
Of my
dream tickets.
Uncle Victor, let me say, I voted for Peter Obi in 2023. And I'm voting for Peter Obi in 2027. I am in the ADC. I support the opposition movement. Every person who is in the opposition is eminently qualified to be president. Everybody who is contesting. Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, Amaechi. You know, Atiku Abubakar is somebody who, he was not vice president to a weak president. And the only position he has held in his entire political is vice president. But somehow has remained relevant years after leaving office, even more than some former presidents. There is something he knows about politics. Amaechi, a former governor, to the best knowledge that I have, even a lot of Rivers people refer to him as one of the best governors that they have had. But I believe that there is a time and a season for every leadership. In 2015, I voted for Goodluck Jonathan. I would never vote for APC because I never trusted whatever change that they were bringing. I knew that with all his flaws, Jonathan was a better candidate. When people say he was weak, I believe that the weakness of a leader in a democracy is the strength of the people. A lot of reforms we are fighting to get under, we fought to get under a Buhari government, would have been easier to get under a Jonathan government. He had the more democratic disposition. How they sold the whatever lie and whatever that APC change brought, it was up to them. But I mean, with the years that have passed, my position have been proven to be right because the calamity that they brought was not better. In 2019, I voted for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Obi as his vice presidential ticket because I believe that, in all fairness, if a northerner was there and we needed that he is a failure, of course a northerner can become president and a person who has the capacity to do so. Would it have been fair if in 2019 we had a southerner come to shortchange Buhari? How would that have worked? In 2023, we expected that the PDP will zone their ticket to the south. They did whatever calisthenics they decided to do, and of course Obi had to be forced out of the party. I supported Obi and I voted for him. In 2027, we have a possibility of getting a ticket that is not only just going to be a political statement, it has the capacity to begin something that Nigerians may not have seen before. Uncle Victor, imagine an Obi Kwankwaso ticket. This is not just politics. This is a southerner, then a southeasterner running with somebody from the north. Not just based on their names, but based on their proven track records of being beholden to their people and their performance as leaders. Each former 8 years governor. That is why you see that that kind of ticket has the capacity to galvanize Nigerians and build organic support for itself. I'm not a part of people who come out to say, oh, they are bullying this. You cannot bully Atiku. He's a former vice president. He has fought wars and battles and has lasted. There is a lot that I admire in him as a person. But there is a kind of Atiku Abubakar has an opportunity to do something for Nigerians that will write his name in the hearts of Nigerians forever. It may not be always about getting power. It is about what you do for the people. The only title he will want to get is GCON, is GCFR. And that is why we will see that if a person like Atiku Abubakar looks at the entire structure and the environment and say, this is what the people want, and I will make a sacrifice for them, he will be remembered better than whoever that even took a title of GCFR, because this is the risk. It is not about you snatching power and getting into office by all means. Take a look at the person who is there. Snatch it, grab it, run with it. It makes a mockery of yourself. You take power, you lose the people. Look at Buhari, former petroleum commissioner, former military head of state, former two-time civilian president. At the end, died in a private hospital in the UK, flown into the country as a cargo, buried, and look at the reaction. everybody saw that it was a collective waste of our collective destiny. So yes, you were GCFR, but what were you to the people? Nothing. Because all that I remember under Buhari is a man, a calamity who destroyed my youth. Buhari came into government, I was barely 20 or 21. My entire young age was destroyed under bad governance, and multitudes of people like that, because we could have had better opportunities. So it is up to the leadership in the ADC to look and say, what exactly is the aspirations of the younger generation? What sacrifices can we make for this to move forward? And that is why, if you look at all of these boxes, Atiku and Obi is a supporter of Atiku. Obi will not agree to be Atiku's vice if he does not believe in his capacity. Yes. So there is no fight between Atiku supporters and Obi supporters, because Obi supporters used to be Atiku supporters at some point. If we voted for you in 2019, the question is, in 2023, when a Northerner was living in Buhari, was it fair that another Northerner should succeed him? And if a Southerner is president today, and we believe that he's a calamity and he should leave, is it not fair that you get a Southerner to do what is done or needs to be done? And not just a Southerner you believed in so much that you made vice president. You both have mutual respect and admiration for yourself. You know that if Atiku or Obi had remained in PDP in 2023, nobody will be vice president to him than Obi. He believes in his capacity. So with this age and time, what can you do to help us? It is an appeal. It is an understanding. I do not want an Obi Kwankwaso ticket in isolation, no. I want an Obi Kwankwaso ticket supported by Atiku, supported by Amaechi, worked for by the entire opposition, and voted for by the Nigerian people. That is my dream ticket. However the opposition wants to go, it is up to them. But they should remember that Nigeria should come before any personal interest.
Of course, finally, you've been calling on Nigerians to come out and vote massively in 2027.
Yes.
In 2023, Nigerians did come out and voted massively, and they felt betrayed. Their votes, they felt they were robbed. Now, how will a youth who voted in 2023, who felt he was robbed, be willing to come out in 2027 to vote again?
Uncle Victor, have you traveled from Abuja to Lagos before?
Why not?
Have you ever heard that some people travel from Abuja to Lagos and had accident?
Sure.
If you want to go to Lagos, will you still need to leave Abuja?
Why not?
Once you are a human being, once you lose hope, you begin to die. Once you give up on yourself, you have surrendered. You have no longer become a captive, you are an accomplice to your slavery. Whether or not you pay attention to government or you become discouraged, you can still be a victim of a system you chose to ignore. Everything you see happening in Nigeria today is deliberately orchestrated to discourage you. You know why? When you are discouraged and you decide to turn an eye against the system, the better for the criminals there. They have a field day. The fewer people who come out to vote, the easier it is for you to rig election, for you to buy votes. There is a number of Nigerians who will come out to vote on election day. There is no number of INEC staff who have the capacity to rig such an election because the people will insist. But when people begin to show some level of disenfranchisement, no, it is bad. You have given up. But in that you're giving up, what is your other option? Have you seen a video of the woman who was crying that the sister was killed in Aso Rock Hospital in Abuja? Do you know that in Abuja today there are still classes around the FCT, public schools, where children still sit on the floor in 2026? So what are you ready to pay in deciding to be discouraged? Probably maybe your life, God forbid. So no matter how much they try to discourage you, we must encourage ourselves to know that our lives depend on the actions of the persons in power. That whatever that we do, if we do not fix governance and leadership, everybody is a potential victim. I always say today's victims were yesterday's survivors. Tomorrow's victims will be today's survivors. The dead can no longer die. The next set of people who Nigeria will happen to is those of us who are alive. God forbid. I'm not better than people who have been killed in Benue and Plateau. There is a reason why we are still alive. So do we want to keep quiet, do nothing, so that evil people continue to lord over us? It is up to us. So refuse to be discouraged. All you are seeing, this calisthenics of signing electoral act in 2026, going to court, it is not happening by chance. It is a deliberate orchestration. What the APC does is to use confusion as a tool for manipulation. So when there is a lot of chaos, people become tired of what exactly should we focus on. Should we go to court? Should we go to INEC to protest? Should Amukpeton resign? Should we go to get Akpabio to reenact the Electoral Act? It is a lot, but stay focused. If the people stay united and mobilized, you can liberate yourself. Tinubu and the APC gang of political and electoral bandits and this kind of motopark politics will end once a majority say enough. The question is, do you want to be part of that enough?
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure having you and always a pleasure having you around.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.